Today we have the wonderful interview with Greg Clement, the principal from Clayton South Primary School. He's going to share the journey from his school's perspective and give us practical tips in managing change.
Thank you. So I'm the principal at Clayton South Primary School in Victoria, and we're probably 18 months into our science of reading journey at the moment.
Yes, and what I really love about Clayton South is that you're making waves. You're letting the communities know about this important journey that you're taking. But firstly, I just want to know, why was it important for you as a principal to take the SOR journey?
I guess for me, moving from classroom teacher to principal, I just felt that a bit of a greater responsibility, that I couldn't just let the kids slip through the cracks that previously had been slipping through the cracks when I was a classroom teacher. And then it just became more of a social justice issue the more I learned about how kids learn to read and how most schools weren't teaching the way we should be teaching reading. And I just delved further into it and met a speech pathologist, and she opened my eyes to better practice. And that's just where I wanted to take my school.
So once you were in this principal role, how did you get your staff on board with you?
I guess when I moved to Clayton South, that was my second school being principal at. The first school was very small, so buy-in was quite easy. The second school, I guess, telling my story and talking about my journey and how that began. And I'd like to think that my passion came through with the staff, and they could see that I was passionate about it. So maybe they should give it a try and just try something different. I got staff to do group presentations during COVID. So we obviously in Victoria had probably 2 terms at home. So I'd only just met the staff at that point. So I gave each staff in pairs a little mini project. So one pair might have learned about vocabulary, one might have been looking at fluency, and just had to present to us in a PowerPoint for 10 minutes about practical ideas for in the classroom, what the research suggests, assessments we could use just to get the ball rolling and get everybody thinking. And I guess that sparked a bit of passion in the staff that it was very different to what they'd been doing in their classrooms. And the takeaway was, these are things we can implement straight away. All staff have been going through professional development. So they've all had phonics training. We had a webinar by Amina McLean on vocabulary. We've sort of worked our way through the first 4 of the big 5 so far. And then just the other buy-in, the easy way is to share your current data. The data tells a story, and that was probably the biggest wake-up call to our staff, that we have very compliant students, but we weren't necessarily teaching the right way for them to learn. So they were doing everything we were asking them to do, but I don't think the learning was happening where it should have.
Yeah, one of the points that you just made there that I just want to zone in on, with lots of schools going on the journey, we've got the research and we've got the data, but sometimes the bridge into the classroom and the practical strategies is the hardest. So what I love about your point there is that you gave the task and you divvied it up into manageable parts and areas. But not only did they have to present the research, but then the practical strategies for the classroom. And that's what I see as a pivotal or key component of your success.
Yeah, and I think the beauty with the science of reading assessments is they're very quick. So we're used to doing running records that might take 20 minutes per student. And these are 1-minute activities on diabells or really quick fluency tasks, and a lot of formative assessment that you can use. And that's what I think was a quicker buy-in for staff too, moving away from long-winded assessments.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that we know that your staff are on board, and we see some wonderful things in your newsletters and on your Facebook page, how do you plan, or if not already, how do you plan to take your parent community on your journey with you?
So it's been our first priority was getting teachers on board. Moving away to parents, having no parents allowed on site has been tricky. It's harder to take them on the journey with you when they can't come into the school grounds. So ideally, we would have liked to do in-person presentations, share a quick presentation of what the science of reading looks like, but that's had to sort of take a back seat. I guess we could do that online. So I think that doing a presentation on a Zoom such as this for your parent community might work if the parent community are willing to jump on. And I guess just Facebook posts, we don't want to overload parents because we don't want to make it look like all we're focusing on is reading.
Yes.
We have a lot of parents that want to know just as much about their science and their maths knowledge as well. So we don't try to push too much about the science of reading, but on our Facebook, we do share a lot of posts. It's caught a lot of traction. We've probably got more Facebook followers than some larger schools because from some of the stuff we're doing at school. I guess posting, just articles. In our newsletter, as you mentioned, we talked about how we teach reading and the changes we're making at the school, but we also did a follow-up about our maths and a follow-up about our writing. And just sort of talked about why they're bringing home decodable books, what the decodable books are, why it's still important to keep reading content-based books for the kids, not just these decodables. So I guess we sent home that stuff. We just haven't had a chance to do that in person yet.
Yes. And what I really love about your website is there's that go-to page that's always there that you can refer to, and you've put links to other influences that are making waves in the reading science world that are relevant and practical both for home and school. So if you do get an interested parent body, they can, there's that go-to spot, as well as your Facebook page. But I really love the information that you've shared on your, in your newsletters and on your website.
And that's more so they can do research in their own time. It's not shoving it down their throats all the time, and they can have a look. Yeah,
obviously there's working parents that may not have the time, but when they do have some downtime, they can visit. Or you've got the parents that really just want to know everything to support their students, and there's a go-to page to read more about it and follow the journey with you. Have you got any future plans, like bringing parents back into the classroom when obviously we're not in vulnerable times, but what are future plans when we can bring parents back in?
So last year we did have during our transition day, we had all the prep families come in and we did a big presentation on the science of reading for them, and that worked really, really well. I think we doubled our prep enrollments from the previous year. So it's resonating with parents. It's starting to resonate more with a lot of families. I'd love to get all of our parents in and all the current families, no matter what year level, and talk about the different stages and what we're doing at different year levels, because year 3 to 6 looks very different to prep to 2 in our classrooms. So, and the things that we focus on are very different. So it will be good to have those links so that parents can continue the learning from home the same way we're teaching at school. And move away from that guessing at pictures, which is what a parent probably would do, because when you don't know better, that's what you're going to do. So
absolutely.
Then and the next step for us is, I feel like we've really focused on the word recognition side of the rope. So we're now moving across to the reading comprehension side. And the next step, I've been in contact with a lady from the core knowledge curriculum over in the States. And so she's going to send us out some information and some books related to that to build the background knowledge of the students. And I think that's probably our next step we're at now, is building that background knowledge in a lot of different inquiry areas right across the school prep to 6. So that the kids really have something to relate to when they're reading and draw from with their background knowledge.
And I love that it's evident in everything I've read about your school that you're covering both sides of the reading rope, that language comprehension and word decoding. And we now know that there's such a strong shift in that building of content knowledge, not through comprehension strategies, but through the content knowledge and the language comprehension side of things. So what I want to congratulate you on is not only the wonderful data that's coming out of your school, but that's really influencing other parents that watch things like this, that go, I want to send my child to a school like Clayton South Primary School, and they're anywhere in Australia, or I should say the world, because this is a global change that is happening. And you are present and evident, and you're part of many groups making waves, and we need to see that change. And I just wanted to A, congratulate you, and B, thank you for your time to share all the strategies that you're doing.
Not a problem. Thanks so much.
And I just encourage our audience from last week's episode and this week's episode to jump on and have a look at the school that's making these waves and really leading in the research-based methodologies. So thank you so much, Greg, for joining us today.
Thanks, Camilla.